Hey everyone, Crisis here. It has not been easy lately for Red Hood. We learned that if he lived in Death in the Family, he would just become the Joker to Nightwing's Batman. We're getting yet another book reaffirming that he should never have been Robin, and the actor who played him in Titans is about to start picketing outside of James Gunn's house for a role in the DCU any day now. More aptly, a while ago, I made a video breaking down pretty much the entirety of Jason Todd, aka Red Hood's character arc, at least up until that point. Thanks to a generous donation from Werewolf, a channel member and active user in my members only Discord server, I will be catching up with Jason and tackling a similarly disappointing fact of Red Hood. See, by this point, pretty much everyone agrees that Jason's been rather aimless under the pens of DC's current bullpen of writers, but today I'd like to complement that observation by breaking down how, as a martial artist and overall combatant, Red Hood might be even more lackluster than everyone already realized. This video will be built off the back of both my Red Hood video essay and my take on who would win between Jason and Nightwing. Give those a watch to catch up to speed. Picking up where I left off, Task Force Z number 8 depicted Jason managing to hold off Tim Drake, Nightwing, and Cassandra Cain's Batgirl, largely due to their greater propensity to hold back on Red Hood rather than vice versa. The following feats performed by Jason will either be from issues set around the time of or long after this display, such as in Titans United from November 9th, 2020, published about 6 months before Task Force Z number 8, which should be 100% canon per the writer. In the third issue, Red Hood fights Lady Vic, a post-crisis Nightwing villain who Grayson himself remarks fights like Deathstroke. Jason battles the assassin for about 3 pages and is on the back foot the entire time, before the plane they're fighting in loses control, giving Red Hood a brief advantage before she teleports away. Being generous to Jason and taking Dick's statement at face value, this would put Todd far below the likes of Nightwing and Batman, with the Dark Knight either managing to stalemate Deathstroke or at least proving a far more competitive foe, compared to Jason getting tagged multiple times and never managing to land a hit on Lady Vic herself. A heavily injured Nightwing of course defeated Slade, he himself described as amped, in Dark Crisis number 2. However, this display alone might actually suggest Jason is even closer to the likes of the current Robin's capabilities, seeing as in Robin number 2 from 2021, the character Flatline managed to defeat Lady Vic off panel, with Damian then besting Flatline herself. And while Jason managed to downright ragdoll the young Wayne in the past, Damian has come a long way since then as a combatant, with said Robin volume acting as a shonen style training arc. Moving on to Robins from early 2022, issue number 3 sees a few randos accessing tech, which allows them to approximate the abilities of certain Batman villains, Jason being matched up with the Joker. The summary of the issue suggests these simulations are equal to the real deal, but the issue itself proves otherwise. With that said, Jason gets crowbarred in the face twice before bear hugging the fake Joker. The true Clown Prince of Crime is interesting as a fighter, since his sheer unpredictability allows him to pull off some pretty insane showings, such as of course pushing the Cape Crusader to his limits multiple times. But certain things like ego wounded by trash talk can lead to an easy victory. Speaking of Batman, in late 2022, the Batman vs. Robin storyline saw demon-possessed proteges of the Dark Knight battle him gauntlet style. At this point, aided by the element of surprise and magical artifacts, Bruce was already pretty worn down after facing Tim Drake and Stephanie Brown, before he very quickly brought down a Red Hood wielding Poseidon's trident. In DC, it's been established that if you're a martial artist possessed by maybe a magical being, your skills are more so going to reflect whoever is possessing you. But like I said, Batman was already wounded, Jason had a weapon of the gods, but more importantly, later in this same book, Batman internally calls Nightwing the toughest Robin of them all, which should supersede any possession-based ambiguity. This is a good while after Task Force Z, with Bruce listening in on the entirety of issue 8's battle, meaning the world's greatest detective considers Grayson capable of even outperforming Todd's feats against the Bat family, basically proving to me how much they were all pulling their punches against their often wayward brother. The Legends of Gotham one-shot from January 2023 has Jason admitting he would never sense Batman sneaking up on him. During a brief fight with Killer Croc, Jason proves rusty with handguns after a stint with some electric crowbars. His bullets prove useless, with Croc dragging his limp body away afterwards. Of course, it goes without saying that Batman can 1v1 Killer Croc, whereas here it looks like Jason just got his head compressed and was rendered unconscious. From June 2023 to December, the Gotham War arc would pit the Bat family against their patriarch for the second time in as little as a single year. Some things to note: Batman is under the influence of his alternate persona, known as Zur-N-R, established to strengthen Bruce via mental clarity and greater rage and dedication to his mission more than ever before. He also sports a metal hand, which he himself notes as making him stronger, with new abilities his family wouldn't be within reason to predict. With that said, Jason's first fight with the Dark Knight here shows Todd getting parried twice before being slammed into a wall so hard it breaks. He catches another stray and only manages to land a hit against Bruce after Nightwing uppercut launches Batman into the air. Jason attempts another follow-up before a brass knuckle-wielding Damian swoops in and shatters Jason's mask. A few issues later, a proper 1v1 depicts a few more shots blocked before Batman stealth blitzes Jason, completely dominating Todd via a chokehold and an anesthetic injection. This isn't a good look, especially after I prove Nightwing is a superior fighter to Batman, in large part because of his battle with the same hyper-efficient, motivated, enraged, metal hand amped Dark Knight in this same storyline, further driving in the point that the first and second Robins are worlds apart in terms of combat aptitude. That's pretty much it as far as Red Hood's showings in Gotham War. He manages to fight pretty evenly with an old version of a man who was bullied and imprisoned by Joker when he was younger, or even more embarrassing, a pre-Batman Bruce Wayne bullied this guy who Red Hood went blow for blow with in modern times. Against the big bad Bat robot villain of this arc, the most useful thing Jason could do was die against the hands of Failsafe to cause its Bruce Wayne derived code to glitch out. Now, it seems like here Batman might have been referring to Nightwing and Red Hood as the best fighters on Earth. However, based on the context of the entire storyline here, he's most likely referring to his entire family, which sure, out of any group of superheroes, these guys probably are the most skilled. It definitely does not mean Jason is one of the best, as this next thing, even I feel guilty putting out there, but in Batman and Robin number 18 from 2025, Red Hood has to have his life saved from GCPD officers by a mid-drug trip wildly hallucinating Batman. I mean, what do I even say? League of Assassin Ninjas? A group of supervillains? Random robots? Nope. Armored police are enough to stomp Jason into the floorboard. That brings us to Hush 2, where Jason's apparently worsening brain damage has led to him having to work alongside Hush, who's promised to use his surgeon skills to fix his recursive character arc. Just so you know, Hush was trying to sell Jason's organs last time they met, by the way, so I'm sure Todd's logic here is totally sound. I don't know, man. Maybe he's undercover, but based on what we know from what's coming up, I doubt it. In the first issue of this arc, Batman was basically beaten into an inch of his life by the Joker. Not kidding, this is like the most one-sided fight I've read since Nightwing beat Batman. With barely any time to recover, Jason sneaks into the Batcave and jumps Bat-Dad. Since Hush used Clayface to mimic Jason in an attempt to mess with his head in the original Hush storyline, Batman kicks him aside, dodges his gunfire, chair, wrenches a pistol from his grip, and shoots him in the helmet to see if he's actually fighting his family for the third time in a row. After proving that yes, this book is really happening, Bruce lets Jason take out his aggressions and tries talking him down before getting KO'd. Again, Bruce was whacked in the face with a crowbar, kicked into a river, bitten by eels, electrocuted, and was floating unconscious underwater for who knows how long before he still disarmed and shot Jason in the face. Later on still, Nightwing, hoping to make sure Jason was safe, is forced to trade blows with his back and forth brother. While this fight looks somewhat even on the surface, albeit Nightwing has the advantage before Joker interrupts, we already know Grayson is far superior to Todd, so what's going on here? In this story, the Riddler notes how Hush will pull the strings and target each Bat family member's respective Achilles heel, someone they care about deeply. Batgirl runs off to her father, James Gordon, and Nightwing seeks out Jason. This is actually consistent with Gotham War, which the current writers confirm to have read, as the major reason Grayson fought as hard as he did against Batman was the fact that Bruce had brainwashed Todd into locking up whenever he felt adrenaline, essentially forcing him into a normal life as to prevent his own death and any murders he himself might commit. Nightwing has consistently worked with, forgiven, and given Jason grace time and time again, and he still loves his little brother to the point that Hush sees him as Grayson's principal weakness. Jason, on the other hand, has long been established as more than comfortable spitting in the face of any clemency offered. He'll throw the first punch, break his little brother's nose, fire live rounds at his father, with certain Red Hood authors plainly stating that Jason's usually not one to ever hold back on his opponents, which contrasts with, say, Batman or Nightwing. Safe to say, just like in pretty much all of their fights, if Dick wanted to lay Jason out, he could at any point. He should be grateful that Grayson's forgiveness has not yet run dry. Some extra observations I have would be about Jason's fluctuating equipment. In the New 52 and up to a point in Rebirth, Red Hood was sporting a commandeered Nightwing suit, which should at least be nearly as advanced as Batman's whenever it was built. But around 2018, he turned in his armor for a compression shirt and cargo pants, with the designer of his new look even going as far to say this signaled a death wish. He's objectively much less durable, with far fewer resources. But in Batman Urban Legends 2021, Jason became equipped with a repurposed bat suit designed to combat Mr. Freeze. This would surely be a big step up, with any of Wayne's armors being some of the most sophisticated battle suits on Earth. Yet for some reason, Jason since ditched it, regressing back to his more or less exposed outlaw design. Like I said, he's rusty with firearms, and he still has not used his magical all blades, even against meta-human monsters, Clayface, or even during his much delayed quest to finally purge the Joker from the Earth. There's really no excuse at this point, and I think it's safe to say that for all practical terms, he just doesn't have them anymore. So to summarize, despite basically being the one Bat family member to not hold back, he's probably closer to Damian's tier of martial artist than ever reaching the likes of Batman or Nightwing's levels. His feats weren't even that good when wearing a bat suit, but they're especially lackluster now that he's getting shot through his leather jacket or beaten into the ground by cops. Magical weapons either elude him or aren't even capable of helping him close the gap. Not to mention, we have even more false starts for any character progression we can add to the pile. Despite Bruce brainwashing him, he manages to forgive him and save the day a few times. He even bonds with Tim Drake and Dick Grayson, getting plenty of pep talks, which could have easily inspired him to get back into the fold. But just as soon, he's shooting up the place again, trusting supervillains, and betraying the trust of everyone who loves him. Who knows, maybe when this book comes out, he could at least go full Punisher, just embrace his dark side, give a reason for him to never go back to Gotham, away from any villains too marketable to die. But I've heard it all before, and I won't hold my breath. With all that said, thanks for watching, shout out to Werewolf for the support, subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave a comment, and you can support me on my live streams, and become a channel member to gain access to the Discord server. I'll see you all next time.